Alright, welcome back to another SegWeather video looking at your forecast for Monday, July 27th of 2026. We're going to go ahead and dive into the finer details of what to expect. Starting off with the radar this morning, you can tell that we do have a couple areas of some storms ongoing. One of that in Florida and another area up here in parts of the Midwest. Some oranges and reds showing up, indicating areas of severe storms ongoing this morning. And in the Rockies, a couple showers looking possible as we were seeing some rain begin to take shape in this area. But looking back out towards the Midwest, seeing those strong storms moving through eastern parts of Wisconsin into northeastern parts of Illinois. And currently, right now, there is a severe thunderstorm watch for this general highlighted area, which unfortunately I can't really show the map for where that exact placement is, but it's pretty much in this general highlighted area. And unfortunately, as we head into this afternoon, expecting those storms to bring wind gusts up to about 75 miles per hour. Looking at maybe a couple tornadoes being possible, even as of right now, there are a couple tornado warnings ongoing in Wisconsin and Illinois. One's already confirmed extremely dangerous tornado as of 20 minutes ago, so it may have already caused some significant damage at this time. But overall, looking at those two main threats being possible. Large hail also up to about 2 inches, so watching that very closely for your afternoon today. Now, looking at towards your watches and warnings for today, expecting again a hot, steamy day for much of the country. The oranges indicating heat advisories, expecting heat index values over 100 being possible, and then areas in dark pink that represents extreme heat warnings. That's heat index values over 105 to 220 being possible as we head throughout your day. And even for the southwest corner of the U.S., looking at that also being possible, same exact thing as the Midwest, and then same thing in Utah, and even parts of southeastern Montana, seeing this heat being quite expansive, and then seeing those air quality alerts for parts of the Pacific Northwest at this time. Air quality alerts that'll be in place throughout your day today due to the ongoing wildfires, and even for parts of northeastern Colorado, seeing some of that spreading down here as well. Now, looking towards your excessive rainfall outlook for today, not looking too significant, looking at a low risk for excessive rainfall, but again, any storms that do form within these areas could produce some heavy rainfall, quick amounts of 2, maybe 3 inches of rainfall being possible. So don't let your guard down, especially with how low this risk is, as again, any storm can produce flooding in no time. Now, looking towards your smoke forecast, we do expect in the smoke to be quite intense later on today. And speaking of, this is right now of the ongoing smoke. I showed you this map yesterday showing the ongoing wildfires across the Pacific Northwest, and today, same exact thing. Wherever you see an orange fire symbol, that's where the fires are ongoing, or where there's a fire pretty much in progress. And unfortunately, that's in place for Washington, Oregon, and even the surrounding areas. So looking at some pretty horrible conditions in these areas, and especially if you see those orange and red dots, those indicates areas where the air quality is dropping. And even the purples, that's where the air quality is the worst. Basically, you're not allowed to go outside without a mask. But for those of you guys who are in this area, I'll be in high alert, especially with these fires being quite prevalent and pretty much spreading. Especially, let's say you're in the yellow or orange highlight zone, I highly recommend thinking about evacuating, especially with these fires ongoing, as they could spread to the east, and or they could spread out to the west. Again, any area in this region will likely be affected by these wildfires, as they could impact your obviously impact your skies, and then definitely will likely pose a threat to your home if you are in these areas. But moving past this, looking at your forecast for this afternoon, expecting those wildfires to be quite significant across the Pacific Northwest, stretching to upper plains, and then seeing some of the action in the Midwest, as unfortunately with the upper level jet, which is strong upper level winds aloft, this will be sending some of that smoke towards the Midwest, which is hence why we do have that increase in those gray, green, and yellow values for these areas, as we do expect some of the smoke to eventually travel towards the Midwest and bring some of the action here. So even though it's going to be storming here in the Midwest, unfortunately, those skies are going to be hazy as well. So looking at some dirty rain falling for much of these areas in that region, due to again that strong upper level jets sending that smoke towards that area. But looking at your temperatures for today, looking at a fairly hot day for much of the Midwest and the plains, 90s to 110 degrees for much of these areas. Even the parts of the West, still hot and humid, 80s to 90s, despite the storms coming in this afternoon, and even Northeast temperatures a bit hotter and humid, 80s to lower 90s for much of you guys. The southwest corner of the U.S. temperatures about 120 degrees, especially across the southwestern part of Arizona and the southeastern part of California and the Pacific Northwest. Also quite hot, 80s to 90s being likely for you guys, minus the coast where temperatures will be a bit cooler in the 70s to 60s for highs this afternoon. Now, through tomorrow, we do expect that ridge pattern to remain in place, expecting those high temperatures well into 120s, especially for parts of the southwest and 110s for much of the plains. But outside of that, again, those storms ongoing from Wisconsin going down towards the mid-Atlantic through about tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. And speaking of those severe storms, unfortunately, we do have that significant threat for some strong storms, especially across the Midwest. As I showed you earlier, that line of storms is already the first of probably two rounds, as we do expect another round potentially this evening to come through the same areas, bringing some more strong damaging wind gusts to much of this region. But right now we do have a orange risk, which is enhanced risk, indicating numerous severe storms being possible in this area, and then the yellow risk indicating scattered severe storms being possible around that area. Same thing out here in the plain, you can see that also being possible, and then a level 1 risk for those surrounding areas, indicating isolated severe storms being possible with today's severe weather. Now, looking at the risk for what to expect, looking at tornado, not looking too significant, looking at about 2% risk. So don't let your guard down, especially if you're in the Midwest, as again, any of these storms could produce that with the strongest ones, and especially with the damaging wind risk, looking at significant threat for this up to about 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts with some of these storms, as you already saw it with that line of storms moving through eastern Wisconsin, Illinois. That's already going to be producing the threshold that they're expecting with these storms later on this afternoon into this evening, looking at a hatch ridge indicating we're going to have the significant wind gusts being possible, especially in that red highlighted area. Looking at your hill risk, also still significant, especially across the same region, looking at the eastern parts of Wisconsin, stretching into northwestern parts of Indiana, some large hail up to about 2 inches being possible with some of the strongest storms as they progress throughout your day or your Monday. Now, looking at the radar from about now through about Tuesday morning, expecting again a wet setup for the Midwest, storms likely for this area, southeast, some storms ongoing as well, and the Rockies seeing the monsoon moisture pulling in with some occasional showers and storm chances being possible in this area. A closer look towards Midwest, though, you see that first round of storms, once this radar reloops again, first round of storms will come through much of these areas, and then will be followed by a second round of storms coming out of Michigan later on this evening into tonight. Could be even stronger as well, as it could produce some bowing segments, which indicates fast moving line of storms. Could bring winds up to about 75 miles per hour again. So watching that very closely for this afternoon and this evening into overnight hours as well. You can see some action out towards the west. We're gonna have that second round of storms ongoing at this time. But overall, that's it for today's weather video. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to also subscribe if you want to see more of this content as well, and to always get updated on whenever I upload a new video on the channel too. And don't forget to stay weather aware today, and have a great